What if I told you that I've been making 280% APY by trading ETH on chain? If that sounds too good to be true, I feel you, but I really did. And of course there is some nuance to it that I'll explain. First of all, I did it by using the new Carbon DeFi protocol that lets us do automated trading strategies completely on chain. With full disclosure, this is a sponsored video. But it's not like I'm telling you to use BlockFi or Celsius for yield. This stuff is done completely on chain with smart contracts, and you remain in control of your funds at all times. So in this video, I'm gonna share with you my exact strategy that got me the 280% APY, and I'll also share with you some other carbon strategies that you can do for great returns. But before we get there, I'm gonna give you a very brief overview of the protocol in under 1 minute. So Carbon is a new decentralized trading protocol made by the OG crypto project Bancor. At its core, it lets you use limit orders and range orders to set up what they call liquidity strategies. Basically, you can either put a single limit/range order or combine orders to create a recurring strategy, like buy at a lower price range and then sell at a higher price range, and your liquidity auto-rotates between the two ranges. If that isn't super clear yet, don't worry, because when I show you what it looks like live, it'll make perfect sense. But yeah, these Carbon orders are special because you can directly adjust them on chain, and they're also resistant to MEV sandwich attacks due to how they're designed. So basically, unlike other liquidity protocols, Carbon lets you decide the exact prices at which your liquidity trades. And that means you have unprecedented control and automation to do these types of strategies. Oh, and you can use this with any standard ERC20 token too. But enough telling you, let me show you my strategy that got 280% APY. For my initial strategy, I chose to trade ETH with USDC as the quote token per se. And I used 2 limit orders. 1 limit buy when ETH is at 1880 USDC, and 1 limit sell when ETH is at 1920 USDC. As you can see here, my initial budget was 997, pretty much 998 USDC. So at that time, ETH was above 1880 USDC. So when it drops to that level, it would auto buy ETH for me using my 998 USDC. And then when it goes back up past 1920, it would auto sell all that back for USDC. And on, the liquidity will rotate as long as the price keeps hitting those levels. So I set that up, and a few days later, check this out. The USDC amount went from 998 to 0. And the bottom part shows that I now have 0.53 and a bit more ETH because the price dropped below 1880 USDC, right? So the buy order executed automatically. And then a few days after that, check this out. This is what it looked like for me. Now I have 1018 USDC, which means I earned about a 20 USDC profit. So if we do the math and take that profit and take the time it took to get that profit and annualize it, we'd get 280% APY. Of course, there's a lot of nuance here, right? Because we can't always assume that we'll pick the right ranges and that the price of ETH will keep on hitting those ranges. So it's not a guaranteed 280% APY, but that's okay because that's what makes us legit. There are no unsustainable Ponzi liquidity mining rewards when it comes to Carbon. And any platform that guarantees you such high returns is too good to be true, and you should be wary. But that's not what's going on here with Carbon. I just put that juicy APY figure to catch your attention. So sorry about that. But the truth is, I did make a good profit with this decently low risk strategy. And it works especially well for sideways choppy markets, which is basically what crypto is for most of the year. There's actually been studies about this, on how Bitcoin or ETH gets the vast majority of its gains in like 10 days out of the year. But for the rest of the 355 days, it's largely sideways. I mean, you know this from experience, right? How many times have you seen ETH or BTC shoot up and then back down on repeat, doing the classic BART price action? So if we know these assets are likely going to trade in a given range, we can use Carbon to buy low and sell high automatically. Anyways, while this sideways range strategy is great, it's actually not the only type of strategy that you can do on Carbon. Check this out. This trader chose to trade a Link versus ETH pair, which has been especially choppy lately. They chose two ratios for the limit buy and limit sell, and that got them close to 5% gain in about 2 weeks, which amounts to a 128% APY return. Not quite as good as mine, but hey, profit is profit, right? And then there's this trader, which did an even more advanced strategy. They traded the ETH versus ETH2X-FLI pair, which if you don't know, is pretty much a token that represents going 2x long on ETH. So their strategy buys ETH2X-FLI as it dips relative to ETH, and then sells that as it rises relative to ETH. So they're accumulating more ETH along the way. They used two ranges in their case, and that got them a 94% APY so far. So yeah, those are just 3 real-world examples for you. But honestly, the strategies you can do are only bounded by your imagination. For example, you can also use Carbon to do arbitrage strategies between pegged or like-kind assets. Like we all know, liquid staking tokens like staked ETH or RETH fluctuate around the value of ETH. Well, that means they also fluctuate versus each other. So we could set limit orders to do arbitrage for RETH versus staked ETH as they fluctuate up and down. And that could be a very safe and steady strategy to do as long as no crazy depeg event occurs. Same goes for ETH and BTC. We know that the ratio of these assets trade in familiar patterns. So why not set buy and sell ranges to take advantage of their volatility and accumulate both tokens along the way? And then a more basic but also clutch strategy is to scale in and out of a position with Carbon. Let's say I have 10 ETH that I bought a long time ago, and I want to take some profit during this bull market. Well, I could set a sell range for all 10 ETH from like 2,000 USDC to 2,500 USDC, and then Carbon would split up my 10 ETH and make sure that all of it is sold by the time ETH reaches 2,500 USDC. This is super useful, and this way, we don't have to send our ETH to a centralized exchange and manually set all the limit sell orders there. We can do this in a completely decentralized and transparent manner with Carbon. Super cool, right? Oh, and one last strategy is called scalping or momentum trading. Like say you're holding some stablecoins and you think that ETH is about to go on a tear. Well, you can use Carbon to set one order to buy ETH above the current market price, and then a second order to sell it at an even higher price. So you're basically buying ETH high and selling it higher. Anyways, I think you get the idea of all the strategies you can do with Carbon. So it's time for our live demo of creating one of these strategies with real funds. Okie dokie, so this is the Carbon DeFi app, and I've already have my MetaMask wallet connected. So let's just create a new strategy. So I'm gonna do Ether, and for the quote token, USDC. So I'm gonna buy or sell Ether with USDC. I'm gonna do a recurring strategy type rather than a one-off disposable. And let's do 2 limits, which is what's recommended. Okay, so first of all, I have 1,072 USDC. I'm just gonna go in with 1,000, and the price, right, buy low, it's at 1924 right now. Let's say I'm gonna enter at just 1900 even, okay? And then that's going to buy my ETH at that level. And then let's see, when are we gonna sell that ETH that this strategy buys? Let's do 1940, just looking at the chart, right? It's gonna play the range over here. And I'm not gonna put anything here. I have like 0.02, but I'm gonna leave this blank so that the 1,000 USDC will be used to buy ETH, and then we'll sell that ETH amount when it reaches 1940. Create strategy. Approve, and then have to send a transaction. Success. Approved. Create strategy. Now this gas costs a little more, but let's confirm. There we go. Didn't take that long at all. Just a few seconds. And then now this is live. You see, 1900 with 1,000 USDC. And then it'll sell it back for ETH when it hits 1940. And it's active. You could do notifications, and you can also go in here to withdraw funds when you're done. Pause strategy. You can also edit prices, which is what I'm going to show you now. Like, let's say you want to change it to something lower, like, I don't know, 1880 instead. Or you could do this higher, like 19
60. And then you confirm changes. And this is not that much. It's just $2 for gas, right? I'm not going to actually do this, but I was just showing you an example. And you can just easily adjust your strategies from here. And like I said, it's pretty well optimized, their process and their smart contracts, but I would wait until gas is a little bit cheaper if you're going to like do a lot of adjustments and withdrawals and whatnot.
Now, for those of you still watching and you're interested in trying out Carbon, then I have some pro tips for you that you're not going to want to miss. First is that if you are supplying just one side of the strategy, like trading the ETH-USD pair, but starting out with only USDC or only ETH, then wait for a significant market move before launching your strategy. For example, if you start with only USDC and are waiting for ETH to dip, then perhaps launch your Carbon strategy after a big move like a 5 to 10% pump, because a dip is much more likely to come after that. Second tip is to just be patient with your live strategies. Try to let it run instead of succumbing to FOMO or panic and over adjusting your strategies to try to chase the market. And third tip is to just have fun with it. Like if you have 2 coins that you're bullish on and want to hold long term, then why not try to trade them against each other on Carbon to compound them? Anyways, I'll be honest, I don't necessarily consider myself a trader per se, but you really can't beat the control and flexibility that Carbon gives you. So that's why I'm so excited to use this. It essentially replicates what pro traders do, but in this case, we don't have to use some fancy bot. We can just do it with a couple of clicks. So if you have any questions while you try this out, just join the Carbon Telegram group in my description below, and you can see the most profitable strategies that Carbon users are running on the June analytics page also below.